when's a good time to buy? Do you wait? Do you just accumulate? What's been your strategy over the years?
I am a buy and hold guy, right? Obviously, so I got in the business in 2000 and I started learning, like I was talking about. I got my actual real estate license in 2002. So I was a TC doing paperwork, helping Sal, doing all these things, right? Like learning the business, like figuring stuff out before I got my license. So once I got my license, I was like, well, I'm trying to tell people they should go and buy a house or sell a house with me, but I've never done it. What do I do? So I made it a point by the time 2003 hit, I bought my first house, right? And so from there, I just had to get started. And that house didn't cost me a lot. I hate to say, it cost me $235,000 to purchase that house in San Diego, right?
Wow.
And I had to scrimp and save everything. I put $5,000 down to buy that house, which sounds crazy. I had an 80-20 loan on it with an 8 and a 10% interest rate. And that was, the seller paid my closing costs, right? But it was everything I had. I mean, I found my budget from 2000 and my goal was to earn $1,000 a month when I first moved to San Diego, which sounds ridiculous now, right? But going back to that, right? So I bought that first house because I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is what I'm doing. I needed to do this to experience it myself if I'm going to teach other people how to do this, right? And that was my entry, that first property, just getting in the market, finding something, because the San Diego market continued to escalate. Now, like that same house that I bought for $235 in 2003 was probably worth about $450 or so in 2007. In 2010, that house was worth about $135. And today that house is worth just over $1 million, So, wow.
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real.
Well, hey, everybody, Jeff Sutherland on the Jeff Sutherland Show. And I am stoked today because I have a professional in real estate. He's just like me. He actually has sold for 25 years, and his name is Brad Michaels. And Brad hails out of San Diego, so he's licensed in Arizona and in California. And so it's a unique perspective as we talk to Brad about so many things about his story and how he's made it 25 years in this business and kind of the differences between the markets and how do you get through bad markets and good markets? So, Brad, I'm so happy you're with me today. And Brad is one of my business partners at EXP and just a stud when it knows real estate and he takes care of his clients. They love him. So welcome to the show, Brad.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Jeff. You know I love you. I appreciate you so much. We have such a similarity within our businesses and how we've been doing things for 25 years. So I just appreciate you, and I'm thankful to be here. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I remember our first conversations, how well we resonated with each other because we kind of believe in the same things as far as taking care of clients. And can you share a little bit about, your secret sauce? How have you made it for 25 years and your business continues to grow? It's very stable. And how do you do that?
I mean, look, I was very lucky. There's a lot of people who don't have mentors to teach them how to do this. And I found a mentor right off the bat who kind of helped me and taught me, right? And for me, my business is all about relationships. I don't care about transactions. I don't care about where the next deal is coming from. What I care about is taking care of the people that I'm working with at the time. Because it just takes one person, right? So if you do a really good job for one person, that one person can lead you down the path to many other people. So, and I was lucky to find that early on. And with that, just learning how to take care of my clients. I feel like in today's day and age, the bar is so low. All you have to do is show up and people are extremely pleased with you and what you're doing. So if you can go above and beyond that and provide value and actually show people the value that you have in these different markets, by doing that, you create walking, talking advocates, people who love you, who appreciate what you do for them. And then they go and tell other people.
Yeah. You're talking about mentoring. It's so important. I talk to a lot of agents out there and they're looking for different brokerages and stuff. And they're like, some of them are like, yeah, I just want the cheapest place. And I try to explain to them that, when you go to the cheapest place, you're not going to get much. And tell us about the mentoring in your life. Like, how important was that? And what if you didn't have mentoring at the beginning? Would that have totally taken you a different road?
Absolutely. I don't think I'd still be here today if I didn't have that. So, my one of my first mentors' names was Sal. He was a guy who worked at Remax when I first moved to California. Right before I moved there, I met him at a party, and he's like, "Hey man, if you ever come out here, you need a job, call me." Right? So I went back home. I packed up all my stuff, and I moved to California. And I called Sal, and I'm like, "Hey man, I need a job. What, you said you're in real estate. How do I do this?" And he's like, "Well, let me help you out." So I learned quite a bit from him, but it was funny because, Sal was one of these guys that was all about cold calling and door knocking and farming. And so he sat me down and he's like, "Here's a phone book and here's a list of people that might be interested in selling their house. So I want you to call all these people every day. You're going to go in. I want you to make 50 phone calls a day." And then he had this farm in Little Italy in San Diego. And he's like, "You're going to go knock on all these doors and hand out flyers for all of our listings and see if people want to buy or sell." So Sal had me doing all this stuff. And then he's like, "But I also have these tapes." And he's like, "I want you to listen to these tapes because these tapes are going to help you become a better person." Right. So, this is in 2000. So I started listening to Brian Buffini tapes, right? I got indoctrinated very early, right when I got into the business. So I'm doing this stuff for Sal, and then I have Brian on these tapes telling me to do the total opposite, right? So I go to Sal, I'm like, "Hey, after about a month of this, I'm like, what do you want me to do? You're telling me to do this, but you want me to listen to this guy in these tapes, and he's telling me to do something different." And he's like, listen to the guy on the tapes. I was like, okay. And that was it.
Yeah, that's so good. So tell us about some of the things you learned from like Brian, because he's an amazing trainer and developer. So how have you kept your sphere of influence, your database so loyal to you over the years? Tell us some tactics that you use.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing that I sort of learned that I've incorporated overall this time is there's three things, right? Contact, care, and community. Right. So the first thing is, real estate is a contact sport. We know this. You need to be in contact with your database all the time. Instead of going out there looking for other people, right? Like trying to figure out where your next deal is coming from, focus on the people that you already have. These phones right now, we've got a phone here, and in this phone, right, is probably millions of dollars, for most of us, if we just went and sought it, right? So the first thing is contact, right? Second thing is care, providing value to your clients, to the people who have used you in the past, who might use you in the future, and then creating a community within your database. I do client parties. I try and do 3 to 4 client parties every year. One of my goals was always to party my way to success. And I figured, well, why not do client parties? I love to party. Other people like to party. Let's have fun. Do this, right? So
that's right.
I do bowling parties, I do movie parties, I do pie parties, Santa parties, whatever I can think of. So I create a community within my relationships. I think those really, if I had to boil it all down, that's it. That's the secret sauce, right? Contact, care, and community, doing those things.
Yeah, I so love that. I think after COVID, a lot of people kind of lost sight of how important it is to have community and to have, person-to-person contact. I'm a big believer in events. I think people, that's, breaking bread with people, getting to know them face to face. It's such a difference, isn't it? We live in such a digital world now. Look at it right now, we're doing a podcast and we're not even in the same room.
Right.
So, isn't there a lot of value with having these events, putting them on?
Absolutely. Even during COVID, one of the things that I did right away was try to figure out how could I still get my database together. Yeah. So one of my clients is a hot dog vendor. So I called him up and I said, "Here's what we're going to do. You're going to set up on my driveway. I'm going to sit in my yard and wave hi to people, and they can place an order. They can come up and they can drive up and they can come in and say hi if they want. They can get out of their cars if they want to, if they're comfortable. If not, so be it." But I had a bunch of people come by and grab hot dogs that day just to feel like we were still connected, right? So, because you're right, I think COVID did away with a lot of that. There is a lot of, I'm just going to text somebody instead of picking up a phone and having a conversation, or just going and seeing them, right? We're social creatures. We need each other. We need hugs, man. We need handshakes. We need to be around each other and feel that energy, right?
Yeah, totally, totally. Now you do business in San Diego and in Phoenix. How do you balance that? How do you balance that, Brad, in terms of going back and forth and managing those two businesses?
It's not always easy, right? I'm still really working hard to build my business in Phoenix. I've done some good business here. My bread and butter is still in San Diego. It's not always easy, right? It's you never find balance, I find. You're always balancing, and that's the difference. So I'm constantly figuring out, okay, well, where can I set up my appointments this week so I can be in San Diego? Where do I need to set up my appointments, this week so I can be in Phoenix? So it is a constant balancing act of going back and forth and building clients here and keeping my clients there. I do have a couple of mentees in San Diego that are starting to help me out. Plus, all of the people here at CRG, in Phoenix are amazing. I've really, really leaned on a lot of the people in our group to help me out, right? So again, I'm not an island doing this on my own. I need help. Like everybody needs help, right? So anybody who says they do it by themselves, they're lying, right? You always need help. You need people around you.
Totally. I'm so excited you mentioned CRG, and that this is it's called the Collaborative Realty Group. It's a big group of people we all belong to, and Joshua Riddle did a great job with his team coining that, but it really is about collaboration and support, right? We're just a lot of us are independent agents just helping each other, and it's kind of a nice lifeline for us. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, there's another thing I love about you. You actually helped me. You reminded me of this early on when I met you. And I know you buy a lot of properties. And yeah. And you know what? We're in an industry, Brad, where, we're 1099 paid people. We don't have 401ks. We don't have these retirement plans that we kick into all the time. So we're left kind of on our own to do our own investing, whether it be through an IRA or stocks or whatever, and housing, right? So you have been proactive in that. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, when's a good time to buy? Do you wait? Do you just accumulate? What's been your strategy over the years?
I am a buy and hold guy, right? Obviously. So I got in the business in 2000 and I started learning, like I was talking about. I got my actual real estate license in 2002. So I was a TC doing paperwork, helping Sal, doing all these things, right? Like learning the business, like figuring stuff out before I got my license. So once I got my license, I was like, well, I'm trying to tell people they should go and buy a house or sell a house with me, but I've never done it. What do I do? So I made it a point by the time 2003 hit, I bought my first house. Right. And so from there, I just had to get started. And that house didn't cost me a lot. Like I hate to say, it cost me $235,000 to purchase that house in San Diego. Right.
Wow.
And I had to scrimp and save everything. I put $5,000 down to buy that house, which sounds crazy. I had an 80-20 loan on it with an 8 and a 10% interest rate. And that was, the seller paid my closing costs, right? But it was everything I had. I mean, I found my budget from 2000 and my goal was to earn $1,000 a month when I first moved to San Diego, which sounds ridiculous now, right? But going back to that, right? So I bought that first house because I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is what I'm doing. I needed to do this to experience it myself if I'm going to teach other people how to do this, right? And that was my entry, that first property, just getting in the market, finding something, because the San Diego market continued to escalate. Now, like that same house that I bought for $235 in 2003 was probably worth about $450 or so in 2007. In 2010, that house was worth about $135. And today that house is worth just over $1 million, So,
wow.
But that property utilized that. And now my goal since then, my wife and my goal is to try and purchase a home every 2 years, or at least another door. So whether that means building an ADU or buying a duplex, doing a flip, whatever it is, now I'm not a big flipper. I don't think real estate agents should flip properties because I think ethically there's too much that can go on that you really have to do. That's my personal opinion. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. I just do think it's really hard because I've tried to flip properties and, a lot of times it's easy to cut corners and I just refuse to do that. I think the integrity that I have and you have to do things to homes that nobody ever sees, right? So sometimes it's hard to show people the value that brings because people just kind of want it to look pretty. It's not always, but sometimes, right? So I've done some flips. and it's been okay. But the profit margin is it's much smaller for me than for some other people, I think. So I'm a buy and hold guy. So I just try to buy properties and hold on to them.
And what a great goal, like one door every 2 years. That's something that's doable, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and down the road, you do that for 15, 20 years, you start looking at being able to have homes free and clear. You're looking at a much different situation in an economy where, it really is all about assets nowadays, and having a hard asset is a pretty important thing. So I commend you on that. I wish more agents would do that. You would think that we would, but the problem with most agents is they're living hand to mouth. They're transaction to transaction. They never get out of that rut. So they don't have the margin, or they don't even have like the wisdom to step back and go, man, I need to do something besides just this, because there's nothing going into investments, nothing going into savings, right? I would say the majority of agents have that issue.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, look, even with EXP, that's one thing that's super nice about EXP. Instead of spending 6% to pay a brokerage fee, right? You could take 5 or 6% of every check that you get off the top, you never even see it, and put it back into stocks. And it's a nice little savings plan that you have. It's something totally different, right? It's forced savings. So it's just another vehicle, right? I love real estate, right? I love investing in real estate, but I also diversify, right? I have gold, I have silver, I have, other, the stocks, not a lot of stuff. It's not a lot, but, Bitcoin even, right? Like it's all of these things. So you have to diversify, but I do think that real estate is one of the best places to build wealth. Over time, that's it. If I hadn't bought that one house, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah, there's definite advantages. I think it's the best investment out there. Of course, I'm biased, but you're leveraging other people's money when they're renting from you. There's serious tax advantages. You can take advantage of depreciation. You have appreciating asset, but you can take advantage of the tax code fully and legally. So it's like, to me, it's just the greatest thing ever. And it's something we know, right? I would not go buy coffee beans in Costa Rica and invest in that because I don't understand it. But I understand real estate. Why wouldn't we invest in something that we do every day? It befuddles me why more people don't do it.
Even Warren Buffett says that, right? He says, I don't invest in things that I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, Brad, you and I have been through a lot of different markets, bro. We've been through some tough ones. I remember in Phoenix in 06, the absolute floor fell out. We lost like 40% value in homes. It was brutal. I'm sure it wasn't much better in California. So I've been through about 3 or 4 really tough ones. We're coming out of a really tough one in Phoenix the last couple of years. It's been brutal. And a lot of people don't realize the affordability over the last 2 years. The last time it was this bad was back in 1982. And so how do you navigate through these difficult markets? Because the market always finds equilibrium. It always gets better at some point, but how do you manage during these rougher times?
I mean, it goes back to your database and your pipeline and your community, right? So I think that you always, what's the old saying, right? When you're on top of the mountain, throw a little dirt in the valley. So when you fall, it doesn't hurt so bad. And I do believe in that, right? Like, again, forced savings plans, making sure, you have a budget, right? Because here's the thing, real estate goes, our income can do this, right? The idea is to make where this bottom is, instead of going like this, to hit that and come back up from there, right? So you never get back down to this point, right? So, ideally having 6 months in savings for, personal and business expenses, right? I mean, I know that's not always doable for everybody, but you could start with having 1 month savings, right? So that when you don't have a paycheck that month, right, you have something to fall back on, right? And just what we talked about, other forms of income, right? Having rental properties, having other things that help supplement and keep you above that line that I talked about, right? I don't know if I really answered that question, but I mean, navigating the markets is just the same, right? Nothing stops, right? So you keep pouring into the people that you have relationships with, right? Because again, you deal it out in slices and it comes back in loaves. And I truly believe that, right? So you just keep pouring in and you just keep doing what you're doing. I think, to boil that whole thing down, consistency. Consistency is the key to navigating any of these markets. You don't stop doing the stuff that you're doing and you don't see, oh, here's this shiny object. This is what's going to work right now. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. No, we know what works. We've been doing this for a long time. And it's like, and we know that if we just do this, results will come.
Yes. And you do business by referral. And that's mostly what I do too. And we know that no matter what, you're going to have people in your database that need to buy and sell in any market. It's just, you know that, right? And these are families that need support, right? So I've always liked that business model. I've always had like almost all my entire pipeline with just referrals. I dabble sometimes. I do follow squirrels sometimes.
Sure, we all do.
Yeah. But I just think it makes for a great business, right? And not only that, I think it's very emotionally fulfilling. Like I've had a couple families, I've literally served 4 generations. Isn't that, I mean,
There's nothing better like when you get the son or daughter of a family that you helped, or their son or daughter, like you said, or the grandparents, I agree with you. It's an amazing feeling inside.
yeah, for sure.
You know?
Now, during some of these tough moments over your career, do you ever have any self-doubt? We were talking about that a little bit earlier. I mean, tell me, you're human, Brad. So what are some of the emotions of being a real estate agent?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? Like, I doubt myself all the time. I'm like, we constantly, that's not always true. I shouldn't say it like that, but I do, right? Like the thoughts creep in, you take a listing and it's not selling and you're like, well, I'm doing all the things that I normally do. Why isn't it selling? Is it me? Like that's the first, oh man, I'm not good enough. I didn't do something right. Or so we constantly have to fight those demons and come back and be like, no, hold up. I know what I'm doing. My clients know that I know what I'm doing. We're going to do what we need to do based on the market, right? Now, here's the thing. The skills stay the same, but the tactics sometimes have to change, right? And I think that's it. Sometimes when you realize, man, like you said, Phoenix market has been kind of low, even just this last couple of years, right? So I think we're finally starting to come out of that a little bit. I kind of lost my train of thought there.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's funny. We've had in the Phoenix area, I think it was a couple months ago, I saw an article that we had the highest number of delistings, people that canceled their listings across the country. And I've had a couple listings that we had to cancel this year. And it's just been, I was beating myself up. I was like, what else could I have done? And it's definitely a learning lesson. It was tough.
And it is, right? And I think that's it, right? We all have self-doubt, right? The thing is to, okay, if you're doubting yourself, where are my skill sets? Where do those lie? Go back to the basics, go back to your skills. If there's something that you need to refine. We've talked about affirmations before. I love starting off my mornings. I have my morning routine where I get up, I get in the hot tub, I do my meditations, I do my exercises, I do my affirmations, I do my visualization, do all that stuff before my day even gets started, right? So having that positive mindset and setting yourself up for success from the get-go every single day, I think is huge. And that's how you combat that self-doubt. And even when things are tough, it's like, nope, I'm just going to keep going. Just going to keep pushing through. I'm going to stay consistent.
So you're dropping gold right now, bro, because it's like you can't get to 25 years in this business without bringing it all the time and having the discipline and doing the rhythms that are necessary to reprogram your mind, because there's so much negativity out there and toxicity all the time, right? And if we were to listen to the narrative and everything that's going on in the world, we'd just be like in the fetal position, man. It's like, so, every day you're doing something to feed your mind with positive things. So those morning rhythms you have, it's everything, isn't it?
It is everything, right? And well, good stuff in, good stuff out, garbage in, garbage out. I love social media. Don't get me wrong. I like to jump onto Instagram and scroll through and see everybody's stuff. Like it's fun. Like Facebook, it's fun. But I make sure I limit that time that I'm on there. I don't watch a lot of television. I don't pay attention to the news. I don't get into political debates with people online. Like, if somebody wants to talk to me and have a conversation about something that's polarizing, I'm all day, man. Let's get on the phone. Let's talk. Let's meet in person. Let's go have coffee. Like, let's talk about this. But again, good stuff in, good stuff out, garbage in, garbage out.
Well, so now you're touching on a subject where everybody's talking about it, right? Is, we're Americans. We are supposed to be able to have discourse agreeably, even if we disagree, to disagree agreeably, right? And I think as leaders, what you're saying, and I 100% agree, is let's go talk it out. Let's have a high clash of ideas and a low clash of egos, and let's search for the truth, whatever that is. And I think we need to get back to that, man, as a society. And it's like when you go online, when's the last time you changed somebody's mind online on Facebook or whatever? It's not going to happen.
No, I agree.
So, we got to get to a better place in this country and, love a little bit more, show a little bit more grace and forgiveness and know that we're all different, and we all have different opinions. My clients are on the left and on the right, and I just don't even like to go there. And if they really want to have a conversation, absolutely, I'll have it. But it's like, I just want to show people I care about them. We're all Americans.
Well, and even touching on that, like I would have to say most people that I meet on an everyday basis feel the same way, like what we're talking about. They want to have conversations. They want to talk about things. I think that what we see is a very small sliver of what seems to be the truth, but really truly isn't, right? Because if you're on social media, then you think, oh my God, everybody's fighting about this stuff all the time. And it's like, I walk down the street and smile at people and they're like, hey, I love your smile. And I just say hi to random people come up to me and talk to me. It's part of who I am. My wife's always like, how does that happen to you all the time? Because random strangers will just come up and engage. And I love it. Like, it's fun, And so I think the majority of people really do feel the same way. They're not divided. They feel like they want to love and be loved and have more love. And I think people are trying to put it out there. I really do. I have to believe that. I know I tend to be a little more, I call myself a realistic optimist, but.
Yeah, no, you so are. And I believe the same thing. I believe most people just want to have positive relationships. And I think we need to focus on that now and keep reminding people that, most people just want that. And so I appreciate what you're sharing on that. So the last couple questions there, Brad. So where do you like selling and buying, or where do you like representing clients better, Phoenix or San Diego?
Ooh, that's a tough one. You know what? I'm so blessed and lucky with the people that get referred to me and the people that I get to serve. Like it's not about the location, right? It's about the people. And I have amazing people who I get to serve. And so I couldn't tell you, because again, I love Phoenix. I really do. I'm so happy to be here, but I do that, I love San Diego too, right? There's so many great things about both areas, and they're both so very different, but similar. It's kind of strange when you look at them side by side. People are like, oh, I can go surfing in the morning and, go snowboarding in the afternoon. And it's like, well, I can paddleboard down the Salt River and go up to Flagstaff and go snowboarding later, right? Like, so they're very similar, but it really is. I don't have a favorite because I just love my people.
Yeah. Yeah. How is it different selling homes in San Diego versus Phoenix? Are there any differences?
Oh my God. The paperwork. So the biggest thing that I always try to tell people, so California in general has everything is very active with contingency removals and things like that. And you have so much time. So when you start a transaction in California, you basically have 17 days, the buyer does, to do all of their inspections, their appraisal, get their loan underwritten. So all of these things happen throughout the time. And as you reach certain time points throughout the transactions, like at 10 days, you'll remove your inspection contingencies. At 12 days, you'll remove title contingencies and say there's an HOA, right? And on day 14, you'll remove your appraisal contingency. And day 17, you remove loan and all contingencies. And then at that point, your earnest money deposit could become negotiable, right? Whereas in Phoenix, you have you write the offer, nothing happens with the loan. Everybody's just like, nah, we'll wait till the very end on that, Like you have an inspection time frame of 10 days if you set it. So then you get through the inspections, but if you don't send a BINSR, you're done. That's it. You're SOL. It's not active. You don't have to sign anything. You just lose the right to request repairs. And so here you want to write in Phoenix, you want to put everything you can on that BINSR for the seller to fix, right? Within reason, there, I was talking about, let's focus on the major things, in San Diego. So there's that, to me, is always the weirdest thing, that the active versus passive. And then you could get to the end of the 30 days for escrow here, and all of a sudden the lender could be like, oh, well, we're not ready yet. And you're like, wait, what? What do you mean you're not ready? This is the day we're supposed to close. So staying on those things in Phoenix, it's a very different animal balancing those two, which is kind of fun and interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So last question, Brad. And by the way, we're talking to Brad Michaels. He's out of San Diego and Phoenix, realtor extraordinaire for 25 years. 25 years. Brad, can you believe 50 years between the both of us in this industry?
Man, it's
great.
awesome. There's a lot of wealth and knowledge here, right?
I know, right? Okay, Brad. So what's your next chapter? Any projects you're working on? What are you trying to do to grow Brad Michaels?
For me, look, I'm doing this 25 years. I kind of have a 10-year plan, if you will. I think within the next 10 years, I want to do this because I want to, not because I have to. And I'm growing my business enough where I think I'll be able to do that and have a couple of other things. So I'm really trying to, I found I am not the best mentor. I'm getting better. I'm learning how to be a mentor. I've never had to train people the way that you have to train people in real estate, right? So I have all this knowledge. I just don't always know how to impart it. But I have some mentees. I'm working with them to help them so that they can build their business, so that eventually they can kind of take over, they can build their business, and maybe take over my business isn't the right word, but so that I can pass along a lot of that business there and sort of cherry pick, right? My A+ clients who I know and love, who've been with me for years and years, and be like, yeah, oh, I want to do that deal. That sounds like fun. Like, let's work on this. Or, hey, this is part of my team. You're always going to get me. I want to be involved, but I also want to be like, hey, you're going to have my teammate who's going to help you out with this portion of it. So let them take it over and do it so I can kind of step back and be more with my family. My daughter's getting older. I don't have that much time left before she's out on her own. I know you have kids. I'm like, I just want to be around and then be there for my wife. We've been married 20 years this upcoming month in October, so just spending time together and doing that and sort of, and then having fun with it, right? Like, building different things and yeah.
Congratulations, 20 years, man. That's awesome. Thanks. And you're right on the precipice of being an empty nester. And that's a big change. Yeah.
I have a little bit of time, but yes, I can't. Yes.
Yeah. I should do a whole podcast on transitioning into empty nesting. Yeah, that'd be an interesting podcast. Yeah. Brad, I sure appreciate you for coming on today. And Brad, how can people get a hold of you if they need your help?
Sure. Obviously, easiest way is call or text me. I love talking to people. So you can find me online. I'm at www.themichaelsgroup.com if you'd rather go through there. But you can always call me, 619-742-4170. I've had the same number for, I think, 25 years as well. So yeah, feel free. And I'm always happy to help if I can. That's, other agents, that are just starting or wanting some advice or needing help. Like, I'm happy to help them. And of course, anybody else.
And then in Phoenix, do you live in the Northwest Valley then?
I do. Well, if you know the Phoenix Valley area, I'm kind of off of the 51 and 101 type of area. So close to Paradise Valley, Desert Hills, that sort of thing. That sort of area, not thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my friends, thank you. Another edition of the Jeff Sutherland Show. Today, you met just an amazing human being, Brad Michaels. I hope you give him a call if you ever need help. And if you ever need anything from me, you know how to get a hold of me, 602-370-7174. We are starting to come out of this market. Things are getting better every day. I'm very busy with residential and commercial. Brad's busy. We got plenty of resources to help you. So we hope that you reach out to us. And for Brad and I, we just want to say thanks for watching. See you guys later. Take care.